Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy hump day to you and yours. Hope everybody had a wonderful Tuesday. It was a well-needed day off for me. Yeah, and it's funny because like even when you take a day off like that, you still got things going on. You still got people calling. So I don't know if it was necessarily a day of rest, but a well-needed kind of a little bit of a refresher day for me. So yeah, I appreciate everybody, the love, the support, the patience, and everything. Plenty to get into on the program today. We got our guy Aaron Jacobson joining us at 12:15 from the Pat and Aaron Show on WDAE. He was there at the press conference yesterday for our Tampa Bay Rays, the new owners, Patrick Zalupski and the crew. What did he have to say? I'll give you my 2 cents on that here in a bit as well. Erik Erlendsson joins us around 1 o'clock today, lightninginsider.com. He's joining us for the first of his weekly trips with us here on the program. Of course, it's hockey season, baby. Tomorrow, the season opener for our Tampa Bay Lightning against the Ottawa Senators at Benchmark International Arena. I'll be there. We'll be doing the show there. We are very excited for Lightning hockey. Man, we'll talk MLB playoffs. We'll talk just a little bit of everything, man. Buccaneers, another injury today. We'll get into that here. I want to hear from you guys, though. Questions, comments, concerns, feel free to put them there at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms right there at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. We're trying to get those subscribers up. And of course, a big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Evra Health. Could not do this without them. Can't do this without you guys too. So appreciate everybody for the super chats and just all the support here on the program so far. Man, we are 9 months down. Pretty crazy. Over 160 shows here on the Recher podcast. Unbelievable. But we're only going to get bigger and better from here. Let's get to some of your comments real quick before we talk about some good stuff here on the program. Benny, hope you enjoyed your day off, Jay. I certainly did. Watch a lot of baseball and hockey last night. We'll get into that here momentarily. David Terry, what did you get out of the Rays press conference? We'll talk about that. Jay Gatto, 305, has been really representing South Florida here recently here on the program. We appreciate you, my friend. Connor's Music Company. Holy crap, the new Douglas guy is huge. Yes, he is. The Lightning will not be pushed around no more. Stephanie, what's up, Jay Bird? How you doing, Steph? Great to see you. My Cats are 1-0 to start the season. Let's hear the hate. Stephanie wants to know what my thoughts are on Curtis Douglas. We'll get into that here. And Eric will get into that here as well. Recher worldwide. All right. Lightning on the ice right now in Brandon ahead of the season opener tomorrow. So, again, we'll talk more hockey here in a little bit. But, unfortunately, Joe Bucks fan in the house. Go Bucks is right. Shout out to Joe Bucks fan, Lee, Steve, Ira, everybody over there. JoeBucksFan.com. They are on it. If there is something that is said in a podcast in Tupelo, Mississippi, or in Spokane, Washington about the Buccaneers or the Buccaneers' opponent, somehow, some way, Joe Bucks fan is going to be able to scoop that and be able to put it up on their website. So check out JoeBucksFan.com. We always love chatting with the guys and having Ira on the program. But yeah, I mean, if there's any little morsel related to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Joe Bucks fan is all over it. So again, our good friends at JoeBucksFan.com, go check them out today. Rough news today as the walkthrough there at the Avon Hill Training Center at One Buccaneer Place sees Zion McCollum in a sling. Oh, God. just when you thought this team, like, I didn't want to mention it on Monday when Ian was on the program with us. Hey, They didn't come out of this game with any crazy-ass injuries back. I limited myself from saying that because you just don't know. You got to wait. You got to wait a couple of days. And you got to see, okay, well, what kind of news comes out from the game on Sunday? What happens in practice? You don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. And I want to show you real quick. This is from our pal Greg Allman here on the program. And there's the picture. Zion McCollum had his left arm in a sling with what looked like a cast on his forearm/wrist, was listed with a thumb injury last week. No word on the severity yet. Oh, my God. You've got to be kidding me. Just when you think, all right, hold the fort down. Everything's going to be okay. Tread water until some of these guys get back. And then now we see Zion McCollum with this injury. That's not good. And, of course, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. And Todd Bowles, when he was asked on Monday if there was any new injuries from the game, he said not at this time. Okay, fine. But with that being said, it's not good. And we said the same thing last week with Bucky Irving in a boot with some crutches. You don't just magically get better because the game's on Sunday. You don't, right? These guys need to be out there. They got to get their reps. They have to, of course, they could play on Sunday if they were right, if it's more of a pain management type of thing. But you also don't want to sustain an injury and make it worse by playing through it, knowing that it's a long season and this team has playoff aspirations. You're playing a team in the San Francisco 49ers. It's almost like you're due to beat these guys. Getting close. Last year, losing on a last-second field goal. Well, on a last-second field goal. But remember, there was a couple of missed field goals that put the Bucs in that position anyway. We're going to have the discussion tomorrow with our pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. The injury report. So we'll add Zion McCollum to the list there and see what he has to say about the entire thing because – right? It just seems like every single day there's something different with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But like I mentioned on Monday, the Tampa Bay find-a-ways. This is the same thing that we saw with the Tampa Bay Lightning a couple years ago. It doesn't matter who is out. They're going to be able to step up and give it their best shot. It's going to be a tough putt next week. You don't want to look ahead, but you're going into Detroit. That's a tough place to play. We know how good that team is, but not many people thought that the Bucs were going to be able to go up to the Pacific Northwest and beat the Seattle Seahawks for a multitude of reasons, right? The Bucs don't start fast. Seattle starts fast. The 12th man, an incredible home field advantage, all the injuries with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially not having Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. And what did they do? They gutted it out. They found a way to win. That's what good teams do. You're not going to hear this team bitching and moaning about injuries. And listen, that could be your thing. That could be something that we talk about in the media. But that's just not a discussion that the Buccaneers have. They can't do that. You're worried about that. Other team's going to punch you right in the mouth. This is a game on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers, regardless of, I don't care who the quarterback is. If it's Brock Purdy, if it's Mac Jones, if it's Jeff Garcia, Steve Young, Joe Montana, I don't care who it is. They got to go out there and they got to do their thing. And they have to play the game the right way. Don't turn the football over. Don't let special teams kill you. Right? Just play a solid football game. The only way I see the Buccaneers losing this game against the San Francisco 49ers this weekend is if they do those two things. If they turn the football over and they have miscues on special teams. Make your kicks. Don't get any punts blocked. Shore up the coverage, which has been lacking the last couple of weeks. And then just break even with the turnover battle. And I think you have a really good chance to win this game. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Just chill out. Run the football, Rachaad White and Sean Tucker. Short passes. Godwin's going to be week 3. It's funny. It was almost like the roles are reversed with Godwin. A lot of people thought week 1, it was just going to be, all right, you're going to dip the toe in the water, not going to overuse him. He played a ton in week 1. His week 1. And then week 2 against Seattle, you didn't see him as much. And the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield relied heavily on Emeka Egbuka. And if you remember my video from Monday, 3 truths about the Buccaneers. 1, Baker Mayfield, 1,000% in the conversation for MVP. Number 2, Todd Bowles better be in the discussion for Coach of the Year. With all the injuries that this guy's had to deal with, bringing in a guy to help him with the time, the play calls on what we should do, going for 1, going for 2, when to call timeouts. This game and clock management has gotten way better for Todd Bowles. And then, oh yeah, not having for in parts of the season, Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Bucky Irving and Kalijah Cansey and Cody Malkin. Bro, Jamel Dean, Benjamin Morrison. This guy's everywhere. Everywhere. Finding a way. And then, of course, number 3, Emeka Egbuka. There's certain positions in sports where it doesn't matter. Running back, wide receiver, those are 2 of them where a lot of times these guys just hit the ground running. That's what we've seen from Emeka Egbuka. He's not just one of the best rookie wideouts in the game. He's one of the best wide receivers in all of football right now. Right now. Obviously, it's right now. We're not putting him up there and saying he's better than Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. But let's keep things in perspective. When you look at the top of the leaderboards when it comes to the wide receiver position, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. I'll take Emeka Egbuka. I'll take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Those guys are balling out through 5 games of the season. Put their numbers up against anybody. Bucks basement, I have to imagine Jason Light is looking at our pass rush and looking at Myles Garrett being wasted this year. Trey Hendrickson, lots of talented edge rushers we can get by trade deadline, but that's not what Jason Light does. He doesn't do that. He's not the kind of guy that's like, hey, I'm going to make a big splash at the trade deadline. He values his draft picks, and when you look at what he's been able to do the last couple of years through the draft, it's hard to blame him. It's hard to blame him for this. Isn't other teams out there. You look at the Giants the last couple of years. I saw something the other day of, man, their last 3 years, it's really tough to find anybody outside of, I'm not talking about, was it the Giants? Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was the Jets. I could be wrong. The Saints. That's who it was. It was the Saints. And just looking at some of their recent draft classes, you're like, damn, man, who's contributing in a big way with these guys? Not much. Not much at all. And there you go. Look at Chan with the $5 super chat. Chan, thank you so much. Todd Bowles as a coach of the year candidate was apparent from the first game, not missing a beat. Yeah, I know there's still going to be some detractors out there, but I think he's done a fantastic job. Oopsie, sorry I'm late. I'm not even worried about injuries anymore as long as Baker and Emeka in the game. As long as you got Baker Mayfield, buddy, you really have a chance to win. But still, you want to be able to stem the tide, make sure that everybody out there is, contributing to the victory. But I trust the Bucks, the guys that they're going to put out there, even in secondary or tertiary roles, they're going to be able to battle, and they're going to be able to put their best foot forward. And I look at Jason Light and the adjustments that he made in the secondary last year when you had injuries in the secondary. Now you're turning to the Josh Hayeses of the world. You're looking at the Tyreek Funderburks of the world. Now you have the Bryce Hall and Kendall Vildor. And okay, they're not starters, but still they're veterans. They've played in this league. They've played corner. They're not glorified special teams guys playing on the outside. And then, of course, you invested draft capital in Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish. Guys are going to have to step up. Are you going to get Christian Izien back? Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tyke Smith. You saw those guys step up. Those 2 dudes just going out there and laying the wood on some of these dudes with some hard hits and just being out there, making plays, being around the football. Tyke coming up with the big fumble recovery on the errant option from Jalen Milroe. I never understood. Like, Jalen Milroe is a right-handed quarterback. I haven't heard many people talk about that. Why are you running the option to the left? Why are you running the option to the left in that scenario right there when he's a right-handed quarterback? I didn't get that. And then he throws it behind Kenny Walker, and then boom, you come up with the play, and that was a big turnaround for the Buccaneers. It's weird. Guys, make sure you kill that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. Kill that like button if you can. Again, share this on your social media platforms. The more you guys like, the more you guys share, the better off you're going to be. But tough to see for a guy like Zion McCollum getting hurt on Sunday. He did hide it very well, but rough there. We'll talk more Bucks a little bit later on when we hear from Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield. Lightning on the ice over at TGH in Brandon at 1 o'clock today. Erik Erlendsson will join us on the program to give us his update on what he saw in practice and, man, what we can talk about tomorrow, baby. The home opener for our Tampa Bay Lightning. I just watched a video that TSN put out. Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby. And Sidney Crosby asked Nathan McKinnon. He said, already know the answer, but who's your favorite player to watch? And I knew the answer too. And after they just kind of went back and forth, McKinnon goes, why? Who do you think? And Crosby goes, Kucherov. And McKinnon goes, yes, because everything I do is all choppy and Kuch is so smooth. And I actually asked McKinnon the same question in Toronto at the All-Star game 2 years ago. He goes, Kucherov is the man. He's like, I can't watch him enough. He's the best. So for all the talk about who's better and who should be the MVP, listen, it's all love between those two guys because Kuch loves McKinnon. McKinnon loves Kucherov. I mean, it just shows you two great players. They do it in two completely different ways. And I mean, if you were a betting man like this next guest is, over 100 points for Nathan McKinnon and Nikita Kucherov, no doubt about it. He's my guy right there. WDAE Safe Man, the one and only highly rated morning show, as I saw today on the social media platforms. Rocking the Army Navy hat. It's the one and only Aaron Jacobson. What's going on, brother? How are you?
What's up, man? That setup is so sick.
Thanks, buddy. Trying to get it. Bro, I got more stuff I'm going to add to it, too. I have my Rays jersey with the background, too. I don't know if I ever showed you this, but I got the Jay Recher, because, we both like our number 10.
Yeah.
Jay Recher creamsicle there.
I love it.
I got the white creamsicle coming too. It helps when you know people in the in the shop there at Ray J. That's for sure.
It is beautiful. Hey, real quick betting.
Yeah.
Kucherov MVP
every year. every year, bet it, right? I mean, why the hell not? I think that's the thing with that and points, right? I don't know if you could do futures on points, but with those two guys, if they stay healthy, I mean,
I think Kucherov had 120 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think it's going to be over 100 with his eyes closed.
I know. I mean, like a couple of years ago, my one big bet, and I told you about this, was star defensemen and their team winning. So star defensemen with over 1 point and their team winning, and it won like 85% of the time when I went back and did the math. But it was like you have to wait a little while to see what teams are going to be good. But Cale Makar and Victor Hedman were like the shoo-ins. Adam Fox and Quinn Hughes locks.
Yeah,
and I think the Hard Rock bet, they picked up on it because then they started doing 2 points for the defenseman. I was like, you sons of
They'll
bitches.
do that. They're not going to
knew that.
They knew that. They know what's up.
So highly rated morning show. Tell us all about that. I saw that.
Yeah, it's been going well. Big thanks to the listeners. Jay, we've been in this business together for how long? Since 2012, whatever.
Long time, buddy.
Very, very long time. So it takes time. It's hard. There's no perfect equation to it. But it's just it's been a good ride. It's the Goon Squad coming up.
No doubt about it. One of the original Goonettes, Grandma turned 88 last week. I told her that you guys sent her well wishes. She was very happy. She was chilling, doing good. And then I saw T-Kraz yesterday saying that things are going well. So all is well over there at WDAE. All right, give me. I saw you at the press conference yesterday. After watching it and just seeing it, and I try to be more optimistic than pessimistic, but I just don't know. I had a feeling that they were going to focus on the stadium before, putting a bunch of money onto the payroll. But I walked away from the press conference going, I don't really know how much we learned. What did you learn? What were some of the big things that stood out to you after the presser?
Well, first of all, I mean, you've been through this saga just as long as any one of us. And
right.
We've been to these announcements with Stu Sternberg before, obviously the previous owner. This is a new regime, but the message kind of got lost over the years because it was like, here we go again. It was like the boy who cried wolf, just with stadium announcements. So it was hard to really decipher what we could believe is really in the works, what's going to happen, and what's just kind of talk, throwing it up in the air. The energy was different yesterday in that press conference. And I don't think it was just me. I think the new blood, fresh faces, new ownership, there was an excitement and an energy when it started. And it's not just Stu Sternberg. We're talking the three people here who are front and center, right? So they all have their individual roles that they're going to be playing here. The thing that surprised me was how the process seems to be already on its way / expedited. 2029 is the goal to have this thing ready to go, this new stadium, which is very aggressive. And I know a lot of people in Tampa Bay love an aggressive timeline. They're done with the stadium saga, as was noted by Ken Babby yesterday, that these fans have seen enough when it comes to the stadium saga. So they got to get that done. 100 acres of land is what they're looking for. To me, that cancels out. I live in Channelside. I was hoping Ybor City, selfishly, for reasons I don't have to explain, that they would be near me. I don't think that's going to happen. 100 acres, that's ambitious for that area, for redevelopment of the land to get 100 acres. They also don't want somewhere where it's far out away from everything just because it's land. They don't just want land. So if I had to put my money on it, like the fairgrounds sounds like the perfect partnership. You've got the Hard Rock right there with everything going on there. You can build, you can develop the area. there's a lot of other logistics that go into it because it's used for the fairgrounds. So I think there was no real big surprises to me yesterday. The one theme was have to get the stadium done, have to get the land, and have to redevelop the area to look like Atlanta was the example they kept using, the Battery, because they need to make sure that the money is generated, revenue is generated from that redevelopment.
I had Rich Hollenberg on last week, and him and I were speaking, and he said something that I don't think a lot of people were really talking about, because you don't want to kind of be the fly in the ointment here when there's a lot of positivity. But he said there could be some lean years ahead for the Tampa Bay Rays over the next couple of years because of the focus on the stadium before putting that focus on injecting some more life and some more, finances into the payroll. Do you agree with that sentiment? Because the more and more I think about it, I think Rich may be onto something here.
If you had asked me last week, the same time you asked Rich, I would have said, no, this ownership group understands the undertaking. I know they're going to have to spend a lot of money to get the team. They're going to have to spend a lot of money on the ballpark. But why would they take this task on if they didn't try to make sure they brought the payroll up as well? And I thought it would be a process that we would see in the near future. And after yesterday, I completely changed my view on that. Rich was right. Pat, and Rich seems to be right. Pat, my co-host in the morning, Pat Donovan, he mentioned this to me last week as well. He's like, I wouldn't be so sure if they're going to spend that money right away. I'm not as optimistic as you are. And I heard that message loud and clear in the announcement yesterday in the press conference. This ownership group, in order for them to have the money to spend, they need to generate the revenue through the ballpark. They have to have people in that area that are going to use that multi-purpose entertainment center, a bunch of restaurants, all these things. Mm-hmm. They're going to need people to use it and spend money there and generate the revenue. That is when they will be able to start emptying their pockets and put that cash back into this team, into this payroll. But that's going to be years. Even if that starts in 2029 with the new stadium, you're going to have to take some time to generate that revenue that they're talking about. So I think this is going to be a much longer process than I had first anticipated, and I wish it wasn't.
Yeah, it sounds like this team is going to have to take some lumps in the meantime and still kind of operate the way that they've been doing. All right, put on your pessimist hat. I love you when everybody else is all optimistic. What worried you about your worry, man, safe man? Was there anything that worried you or anything that you kind of were, maybe didn't understand from yesterday, or was everything clear?
No, not because it was so fresh. I know typically I'm like looking for worried about it. It just finds me, but no, it's the only concern would be the players. Like I wanted a big offseason. I wanted a Kyle Tucker type of offseason, and that's just not going to happen. There were so many opportunities this offseason, and I know Pete Alonso, like it doesn't make a ton of sense to put him on this team with what their needs are. But a Kyle Tucker does make sense, right? So we're in a weird time right now, and I know a lot of studs are coming out of Tampa, but you got the stars have aligned where you could actually bring a star back home and create a lot of buzz, and I just don't see that happening. So for me, that's where I'm, the glass half empty today, but I'm not alone in that. Typically I'll find something where I'll be in a corner alone yelling at the clouds, not in the
Yeah, I mean, you're right, man. I mean, you look at some of the guys just in this postseason alone, right? Like Parker Messick gets called up at the end of the season for Cleveland, and he helps lead them to an unlikely postseason berth. I know he dropped the pop-up last night, but Addison Barger, King High School graduate, playing third base for the Toronto Blue Jays. We already know about Alonso and Tucker. Like, I really hope that that's something going forward that the Rays look at and go, hey, man, you want to generate some good, like feel-good type of like energy and get people to, all right, buy uniforms and show, buy jerseys and be able to show up. Like, having a homegrown kid doesn't hurt. I mean, look at Brett Phillips was a great story. He just announced his retirement the other day. I mean, yeah, he was great. We loved him. But another reason why people loved him so much is because he was from here. Like, he was from this neck of the woods. Another reason why people love Shane McClanahan's the USF grad. People still love Doug Wechter because he's here. Like, Aaron,
you know that, man. Why they're trying to make Volpe a thing in New York. Like, they want his hometown kid to work, but and sometimes it does with him, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, you never know what the hell's going to happen with that. All right, so what do the Rays do? How would you address it then? If you're not going to be able to spend a lot of money, if you got to go out and improve this roster, what do you think in top of your mind?
I mean, listen, they Eric Neander is the guy who's going to be in charge of baseball operations. They've made it very clear, the new ownership group, that they're going to leave that up to him. So I think what we're going to see is business as usual with the Rays. They're going to have to build up that bullpen. The bullpen was horrible this year. You got to get guys back from injury. Shane McClanahan being the first of the bunch. But aside from that, I think the Rays are going to have one of the best infields in all of baseball next year. Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, DH first base, Brandon Lau at second base. Your left side of the infield, now that Carson Williams is coming and has been here and has gotten some time to feel comfortable. Junior Camanero's a superstar already. I would love for them, and they'd never do. They have to address the catcher position, but we could just say that every single year. They get no offensive production from the catching position, and you see a guy who probably is going to get the MVP in Cal Raleigh, switch hitting catcher who's hitting bombs. It would love to get a guy. You're not going to get a Cal Raleigh, but you'd love to find a guy like that. Speaking of Cal Raleigh, you want to hear my gripe today? What
Yes.
people are killing me for? And I don't know. You might agree with me. You might not. I
Okay.
won't be offended. People are saying that Cal Raleigh hit his 61st home run when he launched a home run in the playoffs. No, he did not. He hit 60 home runs, and now he has one postseason home run.
All right. I'm going to give my opinion on this.
Yeah, and I'm good either way.
And I am going to 1,000% agree with my guy, Aaron Jacobson. This is not college football. This is not college basketball. Okay. Those are the two sports where your statistics carry over to tournament play.
Points.
It does not happen in the four major professional sports. When people talk about career points for LeBron passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it's not career points plus playoffs. It's career points in the regular season, and then the playoffs are completely separate. They don't talk about the goals for Alexander Ovechkin and include the ones in the postseason. So, yes, I'm with you 100%. My man hit 60 home runs in the regular season, one in the postseason.
61's a
it's great
number.
Yeah.
Like we married.
Yeah.
Big number with Ruth. Like you start being like, he hit 61. No, he didn't.
No. And it's funny, too, because Cal Raleigh, Florida State grad. And do you remember Cal Raleigh was the name that Hoppy brought up that one time on the show? Do you remember that?
What? Holy moly, it was.
How crazy is that? Because
we
were trying, for those just tuning in, when Ryan Hoppy was their producer, there was a thing where we would say I was helping him out with a segment on the show. And it was like, all right, well, we want Pat and Aaron to be able to kind of speak about different things. So it was like a team or a player, and it like mostly local and mostly big names. But then out of nowhere, Ryan Hoppy goes Cal Raleigh, and you and Pat and the majority of the audience were like, because at the time he wasn't this Cal Raleigh.
I know,
he was just like back, he was just he was a decent player, but he wasn't the big dumper now as he is. And now you look at it like 2 years later.
I knew nothing about him, and I'm like, it's crazy to think the evolution of some of these guys and what they can do in a couple of years and become the stars.
I know, man. All right, take me through the Buccaneers win over the Seahawks. When you're watching that game unfold, what is going through your mind as that last kick goes through the uprights from Chase McLaughlin and this team moves to 4-1 on the season?
They did it again. They did it again. Somehow they did it again, and they find different ways to do it. And they are certainly giving fans heart attacks all across with the play and the frenetic pace, and you never know what's going to happen. Defense has been battling injuries. Like, totally would have understood if they went out West Coast, kept the close game, but lost that game with all their injuries. They battled, and they gave up a ton of points in the second half, but they also scored a ton of points in the second half. So we see what Liam Cohen's doing in Jacksonville. Hats off to them. They look good, but Josh Grizzard's done a really good job, and you're seeing him evolve as well. 3 straight years, 3 first-time offensive coordinators, and all of them seeming to find their way early on. Let's just hope for the Buccaneers' sake this offense continues to grow and Josh Grizzard doesn't go anywhere. But very positive. Levante David making a huge play at the end of the game. Opportunistic. I've been talking about this team not being opportunistic enough on defense, turning balls over. Well, when it hits you in the hands, it hits you in the chest, you got to do it. That's a big play. That helped win. That really was the game.
Aaron, as a guy that grew up rooting for the Jets, and this is something that, I talk about a lot on the show, half of my family being Jets fans, you and T-Kraz obviously growing up and supporting the Jets. I was not thrilled with the appointment of Todd Bowles as the head coach early on. I have completely done a 180. I supported him big time in the offseason when everybody wanted to go with Liam Cohen. And shout out to the Jaguars and Liam Cohen. It's worked out really good. Big win for them on Monday Night Football over the Kansas City Chiefs. But What can you say about a guy like Todd Bowles, who isn't, he's no spring chicken. He's not in his 40s like we see a lot of these young, head coaches in sports. You want to get the new hot young assistant, right? But Todd Bowles, man, and his evolution as a head coach and being more open-minded to changing his staff and bringing in a guy to help him with clock management, knowing when to go for one and when to go for two. I saw you guys talking about it the other day on the show on Monday, but man, I think that's probably maybe surprise is too strong of a word, but I think it's one of the biggest things that I noticed about this Buccaneers team, because I was so apprehensive about him being the head coach, is the growth of Todd Bowles. What say you?
It's the evolution, and that's what you want to see. Growth of anyone, whether it's a player growing in his role as a player on the field or a coach growing in his role. And I think we see a lot of things, whether you're a quarterback for the Jets, Sam Darnold, or you're a coach for the Jets, Todd Bowles, that New York, some places, like, they're just different. And you got to get another chance. You got to get an opportunity. And for that to be your first chance as a head coach is really tough. And you're always going to take lessons. You're going to take, growing pains, learning lessons. Raheem Morris in Atlanta would tell you that he's learned a lot from his first go around with the Buccaneers as the head coach there before he got his other opportunities. So for Todd Bowles, and I think a lot of people, there's too many people that will have a take. They'll say Todd Bowles is a bad coach. From years ago, that was their take. And they feel like they can't adjust and move off of that take. Well, why? If Todd Bowles is going to grow as a head coach, why can't you grow within that take?
Right.
And I'm with you. I've done the 180 as well. I was calling for this guy's head a couple years ago. I didn't think he had this team. All I had to do, first of all, last year, hearing from players in the locker room saying, you guys got it all wrong. You're not hearing the same Todd Bowles that we're hearing. He can be fiery. He knows how to hit those guys when they need to be hit, and figuratively, not literally. He is the guy who understands this team. And you mentioned clock management. Like, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. If you have a weakness, do something, bring somebody in to help you make it a strength. And so far this year, clock management has been, I would say, a strength for the Buccaneers. So the evolution of Todd is really impressive. I'm with you, complete 180. And he is continuing to get better. He's got the trust of the team, and I think he's got the trust of his fan base as well. He's doing all he can. Think of the adversity. It is hard to fight through the adversity of all the injuries. Only a few great coaches can do it. You've seen it in San Francisco, great coach. You've seen it over the years in turnover with McVay and with the Rams, and you're seeing it this year with Todd Bowles. He's absolutely one of the best coaches in football, and that was not the case a couple years ago.
No doubt. What did you make of the Jonathan Gannon thing where he got fined $100,000 from his own team? It wasn't from the NFL. It was from his team. I mean, it was kind of wild. I mean, you think about it. I mean, that's a tough play. We see a lot of these guys dropping the football before the end zone. DeMarcado does it. What could have been a 72-yard touchdown run. I get he was frustrated, but, man, like, you got to be careful with stuff like this, don't you?
Yeah, that was literally hitting
that's why when you said that, I was like, I was going to ask that next anyway.
Yeah, so that was obviously not cool. The move to drop the football and let it go right for the end zone, not cool. That's got to stop. I don't know. Understand. I get why your frustration would come into play, and then the team ended up losing the game they should have never lost. But you got to be a good coach, and sometimes being a good coach is knowing when to really go after your guys. And the kid's not an idiot. I mean, no one's dumb enough to not understand what you just did, right? He screwed up. And I'm sure he was beating himself up. And you can go up to him and be negative, right? Or hit him with something where it's like, what are you doing? But to physically get involved like that, when that's your player, you think that's going to help that guy come onto your side and stay on your side as a coach? Do you think other guys are going to respond well to that? No. So as straight up a coaching move, I don't think it was a good one. Do I think he needed to get in trouble, get fined by Arizona? No, like, even though it was a team fine, self-implemented. No, I don't think so. Football, sometimes emotions, these guys get hot. But as just pure coaching move, I just don't think it was a smart move.
I feel like he's done in Arizona. I know they're 2-3. You lose to a winless team. I just feel like this could be the beginning of the end there, right? It's a really good division with the 49ers playing well. We know what the Seahawks, I was impressed by the Seahawks, right? And then you got the Rams. Like, you're already fighting an uphill battle, and now you got your head coach putting your hands on a young running back. Like, I could see this really, falling off a cliff. All right, before I let you go, man, what are your thoughts on the Lightning and the weekend ahead for Tampa Bay sports?
I think we have a huge weekend ahead. We don't sleep. We got with Friday night USF North Texas.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good one, but the season starts tomorrow. I really expect a lot from this Tampa Bay Lightning team. Obviously, battling some key injuries early on before the season has even started. A lot of us are talking about Nikita Kucherov. I think a name we'll be talking about for a lot of the season, and I think it's going to have a huge season, is Jake Gensel. So I'm excited to really see what this team can do and the pieces around it. But I expect a lot from this team, and we've seen it in the preseason already with the Florida Panthers. Like, that is a legit rivalry. Those teams hate each other. So I think we're going to see that bleed on into the regular season. I mean, the penalty minutes we saw in those games were stupid. So I'm excited. I think the storyline of Florida, the Panthers, and the Lightning, is going to be an exciting one for the hockey world this year.
Yeah, I just put out a video because I said on the show Monday, I think right now it's the best rivalry in sports. And obviously you can't compare it historically to Michigan, Ohio State, and Yankees, Red Sox, and all that stuff. But right now, we just watched Yankees, Red Sox, and they were hugging each other on the bases. This isn't Don Zimmer and Pedro Martinez. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not the same. Michigan, Ohio State, yeah, it's great, but it's one time a year. We're not talking about that rivalry right now. They had almost 500 penalty minutes in 2 preseason games, and people are just watching the Panthers hoping that they get their ass beat every time. That's saucy right now, buddy.
I told Pat, I was like, dude, Friday, I was like, on the show, I go, dude, I'm psyched for Saturday. I'm like, I'm gonna watch. He goes, preseason? I was like, yeah, dude, they're going to kill each other. I want to watch it.
Bro, I mean, and now they're bringing in all these different guys, the Lightning. They brought in Curtis Douglas, who's 6'9".
You have to.
Dude.
You have to. You've got to have an enforcer, right?
Bro, I mean, it's funny because we were going away from that, right? Going away from that in hockey, less of those guys. And listen, Florida brought this upon themselves. They really did. This is the way you want to play. You want to, kind of play on the edge. Well, that's fine. November 15th, Amerant Bank Arena, 5 o'clock. That'll be the first time these two teams square off there, and it'll be in South Florida. Next time is, December 15th on a Monday night.
A couple months.
November 15th and December 15th. That's going to be awesome. Aaron Jacobson, Pat and Aaron Show, mornings, 6 a.m., 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Let everybody know where else they can find you, brother.
At Jacobson on Air is where you can see me on social media. I put out a couple baseball picks for today.
So got the Yankees winning or what? No? Over?
You better finish your meal if you're Toronto. Don't let it go another game. Don't play with your meal. Finish it.
6-1 yesterday. 6-1, and they blew it. And I was like, man, they're playing well. And it just came all the way back.
When Aaron Judge came up there with first and second, it's like the story was written. I knew
Dude,
it was.
They said that 538 pitches have been inside over 99 miles an hour, and not one of them has been hit for a home run until last night. I was like, okay. People are like, how hard is that? I'm like, dude, you don't understand. You can't even see. If you're a normal human being, you can't see 99 right down the middle of the plate. This guy not only saw it, swung, hit it over the fence. He
had just seen a 100-mile-an-hour go right by him, and it was a beautiful swing. And I'm like, oh, if he touches that baseball, it is going a long way. And he did.
It should be harder. The ball's inside.
I know.
The ball's inside, so he has less time to react.
Kept his hands inside, quick hands. You know the deal, coach.
Unbelievable. Aaron Jacobson, man, one of the leading hitters in the Pendingo history.
No.
He's safe, man.
Walker, on base percentage, baby. I was the best.
Aaron almost fought a kid. What was he? A financial guy, an accountant. Aaron almost fought an accountant at first base one time because he was pissed off that Aaron walked 3 times in a row.
What do you want me to swing at balls?
They were scared of him. They were scared of him.
Swing. Throw me a strike and I'll swing. Why do you think I'm standing here on first base? Because nobody threw me a strike, you moron.
There's still an ESPN article out somewhere that I doctored up that has Aaron's incredible accolades from the Pendingos. Aaron, appreciate the time. Give Pat my love, my friend. Give your family my love as well, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Thank you. Love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, man. The one and only Aaron Jacobson, my guy. He's the best. Yes, on-base percentage champion for the Pendingos. That's right. Nobody better than Aaron Jacobson. We had a lot of good fun times out there on the field. That is for sure. All right. Let's get into a couple of different things. So Aaron joined us here on the program. Let me just make sure I have everything. Okay. So the latest from Buccaneers practice, we'll get into that right now. We're just seeing that excuse me. Todd Bowles and all right, Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield speaking, and we'll get to talking about this right now. Hold on, talking about this right now on the show. And I always like retweet Greg Allman stuff. Sorry, Greg, I love you. You're the best, but we always show him love. Make sure you go follow him and support all the stuff he does for Fox Sports. All right. Pat and Aaron, go check them out, man. Great stuff every morning, 6 a.m., 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Those guys are the best. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. And then, of course, EverHealth. Go to everhealth.org. You can book yourself an appointment today. All the different services that they have from the cradle to the grave, man, they'll be able to help you out. I'm just so happy that my two partners, man, they can help out our people here in the Tampa Bay area. Good stuff from our pal Aaron Jacobson. Pretty funny about Kyle Raleigh, isn't it? Lightning Hockey tomorrow will be live from Amalie Arena. So there you go. There you go. All right. So some of the stuff. Zion McCollum. We mentioned that early on the show and saying, all right, what's his deal? Is he going to be available for Sunday? Well, Todd Bowles just spoke, and he said that Zion McCollum had a procedure on his thumb, but he's still in play for Sunday, mostly a pain tolerance situation. Played through the injury while on the field for every defensive snap on Sunday. Will be touch and go. I mean, listen. Also, Bowles adds that Jamel Dean in play to return on Sunday, but Benjamin Morrison is less likely to play right now. So, again, we're going to go through all of these injuries tomorrow with our pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, for our EverHealth injury report. That's every Thursday at 12:30. If you have any other injuries out there that you're interested to talk about and want to know more about, let me know, and we'll definitely put it in there as well. But yeah, Benjamin Morrison out for this game. Jamel Dean, we don't know. Zion McCollum, you start going down the depth chart. All right, who's going to be able to play on the outside against the San Francisco 49ers? Ricky Pearsall is a problem. We know that they're without Kittle and without some other guys. Okay, sounds good. Erik Erlendsson just texted me. They're about to talk to John Cooper. They're in Brandon, so he'll let you know. He'll let me know when he leaves there, so he'll get home right in front of the spoons and be able to talk some Lightning hockey. It'd be one thing if the Buccaneers didn't deal with any type of injuries this year, but they've dealt with a ton of them. So for me, if Zion can't go, I think they'll be able to kind of mitigate the damage a little bit and know what they have to do. Where that could hurt Zion, obviously, it could help him, hurt him when he's trying to come away with the pick, right? With his hands. He's a pretty sure tackler. We know that when it comes to these Buccaneers corners, for some of the things they don't do so well as far as being able to pick off the ball, and we've so many of them hit him in the hands, and we're like, damn, man, we wish you had some more ball hawks out there. Part of the reason why you draft guys like Parrish and Morrison. What we've seen from whether it's Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean or Zion McCollum, the last couple of years when you're drafting these bigger corners, I've always said part of the reason why the Buccaneers have been good against the run the last couple of years is because once you get kicked to the outside, these guys are not afraid to stick their nose in there and make big tackles. So for a guy like Zion McCollum, could that hurt him when he's trying to wrap guys up, dealing with that thumb injury? It could. It could. So even if he does play, there's going to be something that you're just going to have to deal with when it comes to his inability to be able to wrap up because you're dealing with that thumb injury. So him going out there and just being a body and playing as well as he has. I mean, Zion is a guy that's just gotten better every single year for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And you remember in year one, it wasn't too pretty for him. It wasn't pretty for Zion, but he did really good in special teams, and he got better and better as the year went on. And it just shows you not just good coaching, but his ability to be able to take that coaching and be a good listener and continue to put his best foot forward. Like, I got nothing but good things to say about Zion McCollum. Baker Mayfield, some of his actions early in his career are framed as immature, and now it's seen as moxie, but his basics haven't changed. Same shit, different day. I want to play this video from our pal Greg Allman as well, because I mentioned that I believe that Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate, but he's not buying it. He's not buying it. He's not letting it kind of get to him. Here is what he had to say. This is a nice little clip here from our pal Greg Allman from Baker a little bit earlier today on the program.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to earlier talking about not getting too high, not getting too low. And, that's whatever's being said is a testament to the offense and to the group that we have. So it's always individual accolades and recognition. You never have it on your own. This is the greatest team sport for a reason. So always trying to remind myself that and realize that can't do it without the guys next to me.
You didn't miss.
So there you have it with Baker. And this is what I love about certain athletes and certain sports and certain teams. Like, you'll get in a situation, and listen, let me preface this by saying I'm a big NBA fan. It's the sport where I won a championship more than any other one with the Knicks. But what really bugged me a couple years ago when you hear these guys and they're talking about the importance of an MVP. It's just like, why are you so concerned about an MVP when you haven't won a championship yet? Joel Embiid, like, I don't know what else I have to do, and blah, blah. There's always more for you to do. Is that your goal, to win MVP? Like, I just don't understand why there's such a emphasis on that in the National Basketball Association. You listen to Baker Mayfield right there. This is a guy that's had to battle back from everybody saying his career was done, from playing scout team defensive line in Carolina, from what people were calling a charity case there with the Rams, to a quote-unquote competition with Kyle Trask here for the Buccaneers. This guy's coming out talking about, I'm not worried about that kind of stuff. That's a team award. I couldn't do that without everybody else. I mean, I just don't get it. And it's no surprise when people like that. Listen, Joel's a fantastic player. When he's healthy, he's one of the best players in all of basketball. But he hasn't come close to sniffing an NBA championship. They haven't even made a conference finals. Is that the guy you want leading your team? Do you want a Joel Embiid that's going to be great, but maybe inconsistent? Maybe he's not going to be there all the time and is more concerned about MVPs over team success? Give me a Baker Mayfield all day. I bet you didn't think you'd have a Baker Mayfield, Joel Embiid comparison on the program today, but that's exactly what we're getting. I don't quite understand why that's so important. And it turns people off. It really does. It turns people off. You're like, I don't really care. I don't really care about basketball because of guys like that. And I don't hate them. I don't blame them, rather. I don't blame them. Some of the things from our guys in the Pewter reports, Todd Bowles, stun procedure. Let's see. Mike Evans still progressing and working towards returning. Okay, that's another thing. Josh Grizzard's calmness has stood out to Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles says that running back Owen Wright, they need another back for the practice squad to help with reps. Bowles had no injury update on Bucky Irving's return, but him being out for a bit is something that factored in signing Owen Wright. Bowles says that there's a maturity factor with this team and asked about closing out and winning games at the end. Baker said it was fun joying with the fans. I know you guys saw that. Talking smack. That was great. Unbelievable. And again, some people saw that and they thought it was immaturity years ago, but that's just Baker. That is who he is. Now, you can do things like that as long as everything else, you take care of everything else. Take care of all your other business. Show up early, stay late, and then when you do all that stuff, it does turn into moxie instead of immaturity. But you have to kind of earn that right over time, right? You earn that right. The Rock didn't just come out and was The Rock. He was Rocky Maivia first, right? He was a blue chipper. Then he came out. He was die, Rocky, die. Rocky sucks. Like, you have to grow into that heel role. You got to grow into who your real persona is. It's hard to hit the ground running right off the bat and know who you are. I mean, look no further than me here on this show. And just me as a sports personality here in the Tampa Bay area. You know, I was thinking about this last night. And I'm watching this. And I know, like, hold on, let me see. Here we go. Like, people have asked me over the years, like, am I a fan? Right? Am I a fan of the teams here in Tampa Bay? And I just, like, I've never said yes, right? because I'm in a unique position where I'm actually covering these teams. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Lightning. I'm not a fan of the Bucks. I'm not a fan of the Rays. I'm not a fan of USF. I'm a fan of the Rowdies, though. It's a little different. I love those guys. But again, I guess I'm not. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Rowdies. I'm not a fan of UT necessarily. If you ask me who I'm a fan of, I know this may piss people off, but like, I was born and raised a Yankee fan. And even last night, like, I want to see them do well. Sorry. That's just who I am. I'm a Ranger fan. I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm definitely a Manchester United fan, right? But to me, I'm in a unique position, right? Because just because I'm a fan of the Rangers and I'm not a fan of the Lightning, I support the Lightning. I'd rather see the Lightning do better than the Rangers. Does that make sense? Like, I'd rather see the Lightning win than the Rangers win. It's just better for me. I know these people. I'm around them. Just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean that I don't want them to do well. And I know it's hard for other people to really understand that and correlate with your life. But for me, covering teams and being a big sports fan the way I am, like, that's just the way it is. And it's weird because overseas in Europe, everybody and their mother knows like what team you supported, right? Growing up. Like if you were born in Manchester, you were probably a United or a City fan, right? And when people say what team you support, United, it's either it tells you where the person's from or it tells you like what they're about. Are they a person that got into it late when the team was good, right? We know people like that where they're just, oh, like that guy. You know that guy that was born in the 80s, that grew up in the 90s, that somehow is a Yankees, Bulls, and Cowboys fan. You bet your sweet ass you know who that is. You know, everybody out there shaking their head. I got friends and family members like that. How the hell are you going to do that? But that's what it was. Those were your formative years. But over here, when you say who you support or you were a fan of, people like get all pissed off and they get all freaked out. Like, where do you think I'm from? Like my grandmother cried when the Yankees won in '96. I looked at the stairwell and I looked in the doorway and I see my grandma and she was crying. God rest her soul. Not my grandma who just turned 88. My grandma Recher, my dad's mom. She was crying. And I said, Grandma, what's wrong? She goes, nothing. These are happy tears. She goes, I didn't know if I'd ever be alive to see the Yankees win the World Series again. She's been a fan. She was a fan in the 30s, in the 40s, right? So it's like she wasn't just a Yankee fan because they were the coolest thing. Like she grew up in New York. That was her thing. So the Yankees will always mean something to me, right? The Knicks, that's my team. Me and my dad, like if the Knicks win the championship, I'll definitely shed some tears, brother. And they've never won in my life, ever. 94 was as close as they got. It's different when you're covering sports. It's different when you're in the game, right? But just because you're a fan of a team or you're a supporter of a team, like, I mean, it's different for certain people. I always said, you know, I feel like Archie and Olivia Manning with Peyton and Eli. When people say, oh, you like New York or you like Tampa better? Like, they don't say, oh, I like Peyton better because he was born first. That's always been my thing. But now that I'm not on the WDAE and I'm not on the Rays, you know, thing, like, this is my podcast. I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. I really don't care. I really don't care. You guys know what teams I like. You know what teams I support. You know what teams treat me well. I'm only going to be honest about what has happened to me. The Buccaneers have treated me fantastically, especially after getting let go by iHeart. USF has been top notch. Saw Rob Higgins last week. The Rowdies, the Lightning, UT. The only team that really hasn't treated me great was the Rays. It's kind of is what it is. I don't want to not see them do well, but it is what it is. Like it can only, part of again, I'm a fan of the Rangers, right? I love the Rangers, but I support the Lightning. I'm working with the Lightning. And even if I wasn't working for the Lightning, like I don't know Mike Sullivan for the Rangers. I don't know Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad, right? But when I'm walking down the hallway at Benchmark International Arena, John Cooper says, hey, Jay. Ryan McDonough says, hey, Jay. Victor Hedman says, "Hey Jay," you know what I mean? So it's just like you grow. And again, I'm not saying this because they're my friends. It's not like they were friends. There's a professional relationship there. But I want to see those guys do well, right? I've gotten to know these guys over the years. You grow to, have an affinity for them, and you want to see them do well, and you take pride in to cover them and making sure that you're there and traveling on the road. So it's just different for everybody. And when I'm watching the game last night, I'm watching hockey and I'm watching baseball and everything. I'm seeing, just watching hockey and watching the Rangers and the Penguins and watching Florida and Chicago and watching the night game and how good Colorado is. I think Colorado's really there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lightning Avalanche. I really wouldn't be surprised if it's Lightning Avalanche again. But just watching hockey, I feel like part of the reason why hockey is the best sport is because it shows us like the best of us in America, right? Hockey's if you talk to a lot of the guys, they weren't able to go to practice unless the entire family bought in. You got in the car. I remember talking to Tyler Johnson about this years ago. You get in the car, you got to drive 2 hours over the border into Canada for practice, and the whole family has to do it. And it's an all hands on deck type of thing. Hockey's way more about the name on the front of your jersey rather than the name on the back of your jersey. And I feel like we see that in all levels. And you look at it too. If anybody out there has ever dealt with high school sports in any form or fashion, whether you played or whether you had kids play, or that's, and I get it. Everybody has their warts. There are horror stories everywhere. But you think about how the communities get involved, right? The communities get involved in Texas when the entire town shuts down, right? You think about how these parents, if you're here in the Tampa Bay area, you know what it's like to be there for team meal and getting donations and getting there and feeding the team before the game. And like, it's the best of us. It's everybody coming together, right? To lift up these kids that are playing their high school football team, their high school baseball team, right? That's what it is about hockey. It's more of a community than everything else. They're involved in all these different causes. They play games all over the world. They have people from all different backgrounds. There's more countries. I'd venture to say that there's more people from different countries that play in hockey than any of the four major sports. I may be wrong with that, but you got to think with all the different countries, and I know it's a European, but all the players from Canada, all the players from the U.S. and Sweden and Finland, all the countries over there in Western and Eastern European countries. It really shows that it takes a village. So that's why I think it's endearing when you watch hockey and you see these stories of these guys coming up and, whether they're young and old. I saw a couple of teenagers playing for the Penguins last night, and then you see Brent Burns at 40 years old playing for the Colorado Avalanche, trying to win a cup. Hockey's beautiful, man. I'm so glad it's back. Lightning back in action tomorrow night at Benchmark International Arena. I will be doing my show from there. Suite 72. Suite 72. I think that's where I'll be at. Starting at noon. We'll have our EverHealth injury report at 12:30. My updates from Lightning Morning Skate, of course, and we'll try to get Ed and Cena on the program as well. Does Cooch and Vasi say, hey, Jake? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm going to ask. There's the question. Does Kucherov and Vasilevsky say, hey, Jay, when I walk by? What do you guys think? Let's see who has the best answer, because there is an answer out there. Hold on one second, guys. Eric's still at the arena. They're still waiting. Still waiting. Does Cooch and Vasi say, hey, Jay? Robert Cochran says, I'm going to venture to say no. Stephanie says, no, I don't think they do. David Terry says, Vasi, yes. David Terry, Nikita, no. I try every single time to get Nikita to say something. He's just very quiet. The only time Nikita ever talks to me is at the All-Star weekends. That's it. I give him his space. He does his thing. Whatever. When Vazzy's with Nikita, I just don't care. Like, I could be you call me a dick or whatever, but like, I'll say hi to both of them walking together, knowing that neither one will say anything. But if Vazzy's by himself, sometimes he will. Nikita, sometimes he'll just go, hey, like he's not for the small talk. Cooch is locked in whether he's walking into the arena or out of the arena. Like certain guys, like Kevin Shattenkirk was the best. He would always come over and say hello. McDonough, he's another one of those guys that will talk. Yanni is another great guy to be able to say hello to, and he's always asking about a lot of different things. JJ Moser is probably one of the best. He's always asking different questions about what's going on in the world, what's going on in the sports world. Moser wants to know he's that guy that he's going to be in media in some form or fashion. But I'm very curious, now that we said that, I want to bring this up real quick, and then we'll tell you about our partners. I found this very interesting today when I saw the lines, because we saw JJ Moser working with Victor Hedman last year. Oh, he's going to miss the first game due to suspension. That's right. Okay, never mind. Here are the lines from practice today. Jake Gensel on the left wing on the first line, Braden Point in the middle, Nikita Kucherov on the right wing. Gage Gonsalves is going to get this first crack on the right wing with Hagel and Sorelli. We know that Nick Paul is not going to be in there, not suspended, but injured, probably be out till November-ish. So they got Yanni Gord centering that third line with Oliver Bjorkstrand and Mitchell Chaffee. That line's going to work their ass off. So you have to think right there. Gord and Chaffee working hard down low, Bjorkstrand in those soft spots of the ice being able to open up for a shot. I think if Bjorkstrand can get off to a fast start, you could look at 25 to 30 goals from Oliver Bjorkstrand this year. If he doesn't get there, I think it'll be a huge disappointment. On the fourth line, you got Pontus Holmberg. He's going to be your fourth line center. You got Geeky on one side, and then either Jack Finley or the big man, Douglas, out there. Hedman and Radish, McDonough and Chernak, and Lilleberg and Crozier. That'll be your 3D pairings for game one tomorrow night against the Senators. Andrei Vasilevsky on the ice again today. He should be good, but Hedman and Vazzy, right? Those were the two guys you're concerned with and wondering what was going to happen. Callie back in the day, always. Another guy. We talked about anything and everything, and we just saw the announcement, Ryan Callahan not back with ESPN this year. Not a surprise. Not a surprise, because talking to Callie last year in the playoffs, it's a lot of travel, man. That's a lot of travel for him. And where he lives in Rochester, like, it's not easy. He's not really living. It's a drive to the airport. It's a lot. It's not like he lives really, really close to the airport. And with all the things with his foundation, all the things with his wife and his kids, like, not surprised. But Callie's the best. We love him. Yes, he was always one of those guys that would talk to me and say a lot of great things. All right, let's talk about our partners real quick. Erik Erlendsson will join us here in a little bit. He's waiting to hear from John Cooper. So while he does that, we'll get into this real quick. Honest Hammer, my guy. Here we go. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. And you take a look at their website, thehonesthammer.com. You can shoot them an email, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Honest Hammer General Contractor Company, CGC 153116. Our guy Russ and the crew over there at Honest Hammer, they are the best. A lot of times nowadays when you're trying to do these bathroom or kitchen renovation, you're scared because it changes everything. I just heard somebody getting their bathroom renovations, and it took them months. It almost took them a full year, and they're like washing their plates and cups and everything in the sink in the bathroom. It was their new normal, but you could just tell it's exhausting. Honest Hammer and these guys, they'll be able to take care of you. They're so upfront and honest about everything, the way that they talk to each other. And you see the new custom builds. I can't wait to show some of the new updated pictures. Interior kitchen, bathroom renovations. Russ and the crew over there, they really take care of you. You feel comfortable. He's a Tampa Bay sports fan just like you. Give him a call, 813-244-0956, and tell him that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Can't beat that. Also, our other partners, Evra Health. Head on over to evrahealth.org. I mean, my goodness, what they've been able to do here on the program with our EverHealth injury report. Mind-blowing with Dr. Rodriguez. He joins us tomorrow at 12:30. But going over there last week and just understanding what EverHealth is all about, we really are on the precipice of something that's going to take over our entire area. 17 locations in Pinellas County. They're doing everything. And I asked them, I was like, you can come here for pretty much anything. And yeah, you look at EverHealth and say from the cradle to the grave, and they're delivering babies there. They're working with the children there. They're working with you and making sure that if you have any issues that they can help you out. And I just can't say enough nice things about them because there's no insurance that they don't take. There's a sliding fee for the uninsured. And there's a lot of like stigmas out there for people that go to what a quote unquote free clinic. It's not a free clinic. This isn't a place that you need to go to. This is a place that you want to go to. This isn't your last resort. This is your first resort. And when you talk about a place that is consistently growing, it's clean. There's a lot of great people. I saw everything, dental operations that were going on, and the EverHealth Institute. You can become a medical assistant, a dental assistant, a behavioral health tech, a radiation tech, a pharmacy tech. There's opportunities for you to grow. I love it. Love it. Fantastic. Everhealth.org. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Erik Erlendsson will join us here in a bit. Talk more about that. Let's talk some MLB playoffs right now, what I was watching last night. There's something right about the Mariners, man, and it's upsetting to be able to see a guy like Randy Arozarena out there, knowing that just a couple of years ago he was stealing home for the Tampa Bay Rays, and now he's out there doing his thing for the Mariners. It's just baseball's funny though, man. Just when you finally think you have a beat on something or on a team or on a player, it flips. And last night, watching the Toronto Blue Jays and looking like they were on it, looking like they were in control no matter what. And you're looking at them and you go, is it over? Is it over? Are they going to sweep the Yankees in the Boogie Down Bronx? And the Yankees fought back, to their credit, led by Aaron Judge. And your best players have to be your best players in October if you want to win. And there was a stat last night on postseason home runs, and you look at the names on the top of the list, and my brother's favorite player is Bernie Williams. And he is a guy that doesn't get nearly enough credit for what the Yankees were able to do in the 90s, one of the last real dynasties in all of sports. Hold on, Eric. All right, Eric's going to join us in about 15 minutes. Be ready to go. All right. And just watching that game and seeing Bernie Williams' name up there and Derek Jeter and all these other guys and Paul O'Neill and Tino Martinez, like those guys were tough at bats. Those guys never gave in, no matter what. And you just look at some of these, and that's what makes the Dodgers so good. As great as the Dodgers are, you watch them, and Freddie Freeman's a beast. Mookie Betts is a beast. Ohtani's a beast. And Ohtani's probably got a little bit more of a swing and miss to his game than anybody else. But you look at Mookie and you look at a guy like Mookie and you look at a guy like Freddie Freeman. Like those guys hit the ball all over the place. Right field line, left field line. They battle with two strikes. And that's why Toronto's been so good. They go up into a 6-1 lead and you think it's over. But the Yankees put some good at-bats together. And then Addison Barger from King High, he drops the pop-up, and you open that door, and the Yankees kick that sumbitch in. And you need opportunistic hits. You need sac flies. You need to do the little things. We talk about that in every sport. In every sport, the team that does the little things, that's the team that's going to often come out on top. Robert Cochran says if it goes 5, the Yankees take it. We don't know. But we've seen in the past when the Yankees lose the first 2 games, they're able to come back and win in 5 somehow, some way. But if Yesevich is the guy that's going to be able to go and pitch, he was dominant the first time out. So don't be surprised I mean, you talk about a matchup. Tonight, you got to win this game tonight. A lot of the pressure is on Toronto. Yes, they're up 2-1, but they're up 6-1 in that game yesterday. And you start thinking, probably should have closed the door. Yeah, Cam Schlittler on the mound, who was fantastic against the Red Sox in that elimination game when he went 8 innings and struck out 12, didn't walk 1. They're going to need another performance like that tonight if they're going to win. It's kind of weird. The Blue Jays had a bye, and you're in game 4, and you're already in a bullpen game after your starter only went a couple of innings yesterday. That could be their downfall. You think about how good they've been all year long. I mean, the starting pitching, you got to be able to run more and more guys out there. And the Yankees being able to battle at the end of game 2 and get some runs back, them being able to see some of their relievers, that only helps. People want to talk about, oh, momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. That's fine. What if both starting pitchers don't make it 5 innings like we saw last night? Then it comes down to a bullpen game, and you're used to seeing, all right, these guys, I know this guy. I've seen this guy before. There's only 1 or 2 pitches. It's not really much you have to really worry about. Just go out there and do your thing. This is the last day. The last day. Benny, stop being weird. Don't be weird. This is the last day before baseball games all in the same time, which is crazy. You have game 4 between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Blue Jays up 2-1. Detroit, they're down 2-1 at home. They're trying to keep their season alive. So very similar to what we see. Well, they lost last night. Cal Raleigh doing unbelievable things. That home run does not count towards his yearly total. And then Milwaukee on the road. They're up 2-0. Travel to Chicago to take on the Cubbies. And then the Dodgers winning 2 games on the road in Philly. They're trying to close it out at home. And Philly was that team. I thought they were really a good matchup for the Dodgers. And, man, I mean, you look at what we're going to see tonight. Aaron Nola, this is their guys, the guy they went out there against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, you need Harper and Schwarber to step their games up because this is going – I mean, Philly's going to blow this thing up. Philly is definitely going to blow this thing up. When you look at the whole situation with I don't know if you guys saw the wheel play that they ran the other night. The bunt gets down by Stott, and they throw Nick Castellanos out at third. And I know everybody's been talking about, this play and that play and what Castellanos should have done. I saw Jimmy Rollins saying, Castellanos should have been close. Let's be serious now. We're talking about Nick Castellanos at second base against Mookie Betts. Who's winning that foot race? There's not really much Nick Castellanos should have done. What you have to do in that situation, if you're the bunter, is you have to bunt the ball to the right side. You got to bunt that ball to the right side. You got to make Freddie Freeman, as a right-handed first baseman, field that ball and either spin to the open hand side or spin to the glove side to be able to go to third base. You have to. That's your best way to get it down. Because as soon as Mookie starts breaking for the bag, I don't care if it's a tag play or not. Like, he's going to beat Castellanos there in plenty of time. And for people that are saying, we should have got back further or should have got a bigger lead. Listen, bro, you know what you don't do in a situation like that? You don't get picked off at second. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about how Nick Castellanos, if he strays too far from that bag, Mookie can hit him with the old okey doke, fake to the right, back to the left, inside move. You get picked off at second. Now we're talking about how crazy it is that Castellanos, a veteran, is getting picked off at second base in a playoff game where they're down by 1 run late. So it's easy to say, I would have done this or I would have done that. You got to take into account everything that's going on in that situation. And there's a big story about the Dodgers didn't practice this and blah, blah, blah. Listen, they didn't practice this because their major league team, fine. You want to make – it's kind of weird how Dave Roberts is making this isn't that big of a deal. Okay, but these guys have done the wheel play, whether it's in high school, whether it's in college, whether it's in the minor leagues, and at some point in spring training during their entire careers, they've probably done it a couple of times. And when you can go out there and you can put Hall of Famers on the field, listen, I don't know how many times we practiced it in high school, but when I was in high school, we had so much faith in our defense that we'd be able to do plays like that. These guys are Hall of Famers. It doesn't take much to talk about where 4 guys in your infield need to go with the pitcher and the catcher. Now, they made it look easy because they're elite athletes and they're fantastic players and smart as hell. But they made it look easy. And I don't look at that as like, oh, it's not a big deal, you should never practice it. I look at that, you give credit where credit is due. These guys are not just good hitters. They're phenomenal all-around baseball players. Mookie Betts is playing shortstop after starting his career in right field and playing some at second base. Not enough people. We talk about Shohei Ohtani and how great he is, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But, man, not enough people are talking about the job that Mookie Betts has done. Guy is a freak athlete. And to play shortstop, one of the hardest positions to play in all of sports, unbelievable. Congratulations to him. The Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts downplay meeting with A.J. Brown. Barkley and Hurts confirmed they spoke with A.J. Brown earlier this week, but despite Philadelphia's recent offensive malaise, dismissed the notion that the meeting was contentious. Really? We saw this a couple of years ago when Philadelphia went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They lose. And then the next year, they were undefeated for that first chunk of the season. Remember that? And then they had a players-only meeting. And then they bowed out in the playoffs to the Buccaneers. I feel like we're heading down that same path here. The Eagles get to the point where it looks like at times they cannot be stopped. And then there's other times when you watch this Eagles team and it looks like it's the first time they've ever been together. I don't think we've ever seen something like that in recent history. Would you be surprised if the Eagles won the Super Bowl again? I wouldn't be. Would you be surprised if they got bounced in the first round again? I wouldn't be either. They just look so disjointed at times. And you think with Saquon Barkley, they can't double team A.J. Brown and they can't, double Devontae Smith. But it just seems like the way that they run their offense, they completely forget about A.J. Brown at times. They don't go into a drive going, hey, let's get 11 the ball. Let's get him a couple of touches. Let's make him feel good. We don't ever get to that point. Look at the season. I mean, look at the target share. Okay, I'm gonna see for A.J. Brown here. Because, I'm big on targets. One thing about catches, right? But it doesn't always tell the whole story. Game 1 against Dallas, 1 target, right? 8 the next week against Kansas City, 5 catches. Well, 1 target, 1 catch for 8 yards. And that happened in the fourth quarter. In Kansas City against the Chiefs, 8 targets, 5 catches, only 27 yards. He went off against the Rams, offensive output, 10 targets, 6 catches for a $109 and a touchdown. Then the next 2 weeks, listen to these. Against the Bucs, he was targeted 9 times, only had 2 catches for 7 yards. And what's crazy is that it was a 9-yard catch and then a catch for -2. And then last week against Denver in the 21-17 loss, 8 targets, 5 catches, only 43 yards, no touchdowns. He's got 1 touchdown on the year. It's just 194 yards through 5 games, less than 40 yards a game. I mean, this is one of the better receivers in all of football. There's just something funky about the way that they don't involve A.J. Brown in the offense. I don't know if I'll ever get that. Tonight, also some WNBA action there. The Aces in Phoenix to take on the Mercury with an opportunity to close that out right there. A.J. Wilson, I mean, you look at some of the beasts on that team. I'm not betting. I think this is a sweep. I just, you look at what they've been able to do so far. I mean, as good as Sabali is for Phoenix, right? I mentioned this the other day when we were talking about the game. When you win by 13 and you look at the box score and you look at Jackie Young as your leading scorer, when you have Chelsea Gray, when you have Asia Wilson, when you have Melissa Smith on your team, and Jewel Lloyd who played 30 minutes as well. I mean, who do you stop? Who do you stop? And you have the best coach in the WNBA with Becky Hammond. I think it's the Aces, a sweep there, back to the top of the mountain. And a shout out to Allen Iverson. I saw this story yesterday too. Really cool to see him get into a situation where he's dealing with his sobriety and taking care of himself. And I know it's a low point for a lot of people out there. And it's a battle. It really is. And some of the hardest battles that we see in this world is people dealing with their sobriety. So shout out to him. I just saw something the other day. I think it's 6 years for CC Sabathia. For some people, you look at it like, man, why aren't you mentally stronger? Why aren't you physically stronger? But, it's not as easy. It's not as easy, man. So shout out to them, no doubt about it. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Our guy Erik Erlendsson is going to join us here in a couple of moments to talk some Lightning hockey before we close this thing up. Again, 12:30 tomorrow. We'll have our EverHealth injury report. I will be live from Amalie Arena ahead of the season opener between the Lightning and the Senators. Hockey last night, Rangers get blanked. Again, I mentioned it before. Colorado Avalanche look like they're a problem. They look like they're a problem. I would be very concerned if I was a team in the Central Division to try to go up against these guys, because they come at you in waves. They brought Brock Nelson back. And I think even though he's playing without a contract, they said it about 1 million times last night. Marty Necas, 2 goals last night. You're playing with Nathan McKinnon and those guys. Forget 30. This guy should score 40 this year. We saw some of his talent from his years in Carolina. But, man, that guy can play. That guy is an absolute beast. And if you're Colorado, take care of business. It was cool seeing Ross Colton out there, former Lightning great. Remember the years ago when we were talking about Ross Colton being an average player. And shout out to my guys from the Masters of None. Check out the Masters of None podcast every Tuesday night. Like and subscribe them on YouTube. Hit that notifications bell so you know when they go live. Those guys are the best over there. Check them out, Masters of None. They're masters of everything, if you ask me. USF football, Friday night, North Texas, going into Denton, 5-0. You're 4-1. No excuses, man. No excuses. These are the games you got to go out there and win. These are the teams. These are the games. Everybody's looking at you. You're number 24 team in the country. No more messing around. Go out there and take care of business. Alex Goller spoke yesterday, Byron Brown and the crew. If you want to be taken serious, you got to win games like this. We're on paper. Where are we at right now with this game as far as the let's come on now. Come on now. Oh, okay. So North Texas is actually a favorite in this game. They're favored by 1.5. That's the spread. Oh, excuse me. Open. That's what it opened at. Oh, okay. Okay. It opened as North Texas was the favorite, and now USF is a 1.5 favorite. So that has changed over the last couple of days. But still, ESPN Analytics matchup predictor 53.4% says that North Texas is going to win this game and not your USF Bulls. These are the opportunities. You got to be able to go out there and you got to be able to win tough games on the road. And it doesn't always have to be against your marquee matchup against these big-time D1 schools, these Power 5 conferences. You got to be able to win a game like this in conference. You got to prove your worth. You got to prove your mettle. You got to prove that you are a top 25 teams and you're going to be able to win tough road matchups. And it's going to hopefully get you ready for an even tougher one in a couple of weeks when you go to Memphis to take on the Tigers. That's going to go a long way into showing and saying how successful this season is for the USF Bulls. I got faith in Coach Goles and the boys. Let's hope that they can go out there and do it. Some really good matchups. A quick look, real quick. We'll take a deep dive into the rest of the schedule this weekend, or excuse me, later on this week. Florida heads to College Station to take on Texas A&M. Alabama and Missouri to take on the Tigers. I like that. Illinois, number 17, they host number 1 Ohio State. Florida State hosts Pittsburgh after their loss to Miami last weekend. The Red River rivalry, Saturday at 3:30. Texas coming off of their loss to Florida. They're now 3-2. They host Oklahoma, 5-0. Brent Venables and his crew, they're looking sharp as hell. And the big matchup, this is probably my favorite game this weekend. It has nothing to do with Ian Beckles. It actually has everything to do with Ian Beckles. A huge top 10 matchup. The Indiana Hoosiers, the number 7 team in the country at 5-0, travel to Oregon to take on the quack, the Ducks. Number 3, Kurt Cignetti, Dan Lanning, 2 of the best coaches in college football. What am I doing Saturday? Oh, yeah. I'm a little busy. I wanted to go watch that game with Ian, but that ain't happening because I will be at Benchmark International Arena. Almost said Emily. Benchmark International Arena on Saturday for the debut of Sticks and Stools, the very badass YouTube show for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It'll be John Senning, Danielle McBroom, and myself there outside of the plaza. So on Saturday, if you're going to the game against the New Jersey Devils, come on by, check us out. We're going to have fun. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to be very interactive with the crew out there. Cannot wait. Sticks and Stools. Make sure you follow the Lightning on YouTube. That's the way you're going to be able to watch it. Hit that notifications bell so when they go live, you hear all of that stuff. I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to wear because they told me no suit, no crazy-ass shoes for Sticks and Stools. I'm like, damn it. What the hell am I going to do? So I'm going to show up early. I'm going to bring my suit. I'm going to have to wear some other stuff. But yeah, man, makes super excited about that. Super excited about the debut of the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow night, the season opener against the Ottawa Senators right there at Benchmark International Arena. We'll get used to it originally. We won't default and say Emily, but it's going to take some time. All right, we're going to continue the hockey talk with our good pal, Erik Erlendsson, LightningInsider.com, joining us for his weekly hit every Wednesday around 1 o'clock-ish, depending on how long John Cooper wants to keep the guys there. What's going on, Double E? How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's as you know, in this business, sometimes our schedules are not dictated by us. So you gotta learn to adjust and adapt and go on. But no, I'm good. It's going to be year. Geez, I lost 25, 26 for me covering this team. So yeah, it's exciting. I think there's a lot to be excited about for this team.
Before we get into the talk about the season and coming up tomorrow night, let's go back and talk about everything that's happened with the Florida Panthers. And man, I mean, all of our guys and gals here locally that write about the team were very just not holding anything back when it comes to I just don't understand how all of the punishment, all of the discipline comes out on the side of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, what did they expect? I mean, this is the ultimate, we're only going to punish the retaliation instead of the instigator. But I mean, why do you think it got to this point in the first place, right? The Lightning felt like they needed to take the matter into their own hands. And, for a sport where they take pride in, all right, the players will police themselves, the teams will police the game. I mean, this is what you're going to get, Double E. I mean, you're going to get almost 500 combined penalty minutes in 2 preseason games. And then you saw what you saw last weekend at Amarin Bank Arena, where nobody cared at all what the score of the game was. I mean, it was kind of like a morning skate with how few of the players were there on the bench at one point. What do you make of that whole situation and then the subsequent discipline?
Well, obviously this all goes back to last year, right? The situation involving Brandon Hagel. So, the Hagel hit on Barkov, and he got suspended for it. You can argue the merits of it. It was a hockey play that was illegal, right? But it was a hockey play. And the Florida Panthers did not honor, I guess, the code, for lack of a better term, right? Like we always talk about the code in hockey, because Brandon Hagel paid for he was punished, right? He's suspended, and then Aaron Ekblad went headhunting and knocked him out of the series. Right. So that should have been the end of it. The code dictates that should be the end of it. AJ Greer felt it wasn't the end of it. And without AJ Greer sucker punching with the glove on, which we now know is a difference, right? We'll get to that in a second, but now we know there's a difference between a glove on and a glove off sucker punch. Greer felt that Hagel, I guess for what he said at the end of the year, that he said he was willing to get his ass kicked for his hit, whatever, right? He adhered to the code and the Panthers didn't. And I don't think if Greer doesn't do that in Thursday's game, I don't think we got what we got, right? Because what basically happened for the rest of that game on Thursday and the entire message on Saturday was, I mean, look, we all know the Florida Panthers are a dirty team. Every team in the league knows it. They cross a line and they don't get punished for it because they're, in some views, they're right on that line, when I think a lot of us feel that they go past the line. I mean, even Paul Maurice said it. I saw a quote from him saying, I have more firemen than arsonists, but he admitted he has some arsonists. right? Because they've got some players, the Sam Bennett's, the Matthew Kachucks, who like to stir stuff up. AJ Greer, as we saw, Marchand will be right. He fits right in with that sort of attitude that they have down there. So basically, this was the Lightning organization and John Cooper. He didn't say it. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but it was pretty clear. We're done taking your crap. We're not going to do it. And for people want to say, oh, he called up a bunch of AHL goons. No, he didn't. Okay, Sabrin was there for a reason, and Schmidt was probably there for a reason. Boris Kachuk is not. Wojtek Stachowiak is not that type of a player, right? Like the other guys, the other 4 players that they called up were there to play, or at least participate in what was supposed to be a hockey game. And at the end of the day, for all of that to take place, and for the NHL to look at this entire situation and say there's only one guilty party, I think it just adds more fuel to this, right? I wrote about this. Like, Jay, you have a brother. How many times you guys fight growing up, right? This is like your parents coming home in the middle of that, and you instigated it, but your brother's the one that gets sent to his room without his dinner. Meanwhile, you get to go play Xbox in your room.
Right.
I mean, that's what this is. And it has to be maddening. The team will not obviously say anything about it. The $100,000 fine for the organization, the $25,000 fine for Cooper, 2 Lightning players suspended, 2 Lightning players fined from that game. Because here's the thing that I think a lot of people look at this. Nobody is saying the Lightning are innocent. Nobody is suggesting that the Lightning didn't perpetuate this and try to send this message. I mean, it was pretty clear and obvious. But for the league to sit here and say that there was only a one-sided situation here is disingenuous. It's wrong, and it's not over. That's the thing about this. It's not over. These teams will meet 3 times in the regular season. Circle November 15th on your calendars, because that's the next time that they're going to meet down in Amerant Bank Arena. We'll see what the lineups look like for that game. But I promise you, this is not over.
Do we got to try to go down there? Are you going down there for that one?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look, because it is a back-to-back. They do play home on Sunday, so that creates a that creates a situation for me. But we'll see.
Oh man, well you're up late anyway, so I'll try. If we do that, maybe we did, because I don't know if I probably have baseball that weekend too. But I was just like, that was when I was wondering, like, man, do we take a day trip? Because it's just going to be, you have to know something's going to happen. It's the players get suspended. Okay, fine. To find the team and John Cooper, though, right? Like, it's one thing if you're like, all right, you let it police themselves. You want to suspend guys for dirty hits, fine. But to feel like you had to go over the line to find the team and John Cooper, like, I didn't understand that. Like, how do you say, all right, because what you're saying there, E, is that there are decisions being made for this entire back and forth that are completely disingenuous, have nothing to do with trying to win a hockey game or trying to get your team better, right? For you to be able to make that one thing that happens in the game, fighting happens in the game, dirty hits, but to act like it was like this big time preconceived notion that was warranted a fine of that magnitude is kind of crazy to me. And if you feel like you're in a position where you're going to make those calls, then you could probably make calls against Florida too. That's why I think he kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit. Like, how do you overstep the boundary that far?
Well, and how do you not find both teams?
Right.
I mean, there were officially 14 players ejected from the game, unofficially 16 players, because Dylan Duke and I forget the player on Florida were both given 10-minute misconducts with 5 minutes to go. They weren't game misconducts, but they were basically kicked out for the rest of the game. So in total, 16 players, 8 on both sides, right? There's dirty hit by Carter Verhaeghe. How that didn't get viewed by player safety. I was listening to Mish, who heard from the league saying that they viewed that one different from Moser's because Moser's was straight on and Verhaeghe's was on the side. Dude, he left his feet. Left his feet to deliver a hit to the back, and they look at that and go, it's good. It's fine. We don't see that as needed any. He was kicked out of the game. That's punishment enough. It's a preseason game. That's a veteran move for a player to say, I don't need to play the rest of this game. Look, I totally understand why the league fined the organization, because it was a message. They don't have to say what the message is. It was a message. And when Sabrin went after Ekblad, it was for a reason, right? And it was Sabrin's first shift of the game. It was clear once he realized he had number 5 in his sights, and he delivered a good, hard, clean hit to start that play. And then he went out like it was pretty clear. So I understand why the Lightning got fined in that game, because you can't have it, but to say that the Panthers should get off scot-free in the situation, I think it just infuriates people even more. And not just the Lightning, I think it infuriates other teams around the league. I mean, Sam Bennett knocked Anthony Stolarz out of that series against the Leafs. Leafs were up 2-0 in that series, had a chance to be up 3-0 in that series, and Bennett takes out their number 1 goaltender with a legally clean hit, right? Like so I think it just infuriates people even more when they kind of take a step back and look at these situations and go, how do the Panthers, continue to kind of get away with some of these hits? And, as David said here in the comments, it's bad optics. It's very bad optics. And, I mean, the Lightning certainly aren't going to say anything about it. I mean, John Cooper even said today, you can only ask me questions about anything that happened after you woke up today. Right? So he was not going to take any questions about the fines, about the situation, and because it was his first time talking since the fines and everything kind of came down. But it's just not a good look. And I'm sure the Lightning feel that they were unfairly punished when the other team wasn't. So that's why I said circle November 15th, because it's not over.
It would have been fun to be like, Coop, what'd you have for dinner? What'd you have for breakfast this morning?
Well, I tried to say, what if I haven't slept for 2 days?
Yeah, there we go.
I tried to trip out the lawyer. He didn't have anyone for that one. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're in a position of power, you can decline to answer if you don't want to. So this is not over. I just think it's funny that now, like, teams and fans of other fans online, like Bruins fans and Maple Leafs fans, they're all coming to the defense of the Lightning, which is really cool. And then you hear some, like, the broadcast for the Panthers and some of their people that cover the team. They're like, I don't want to hear anything about Florida being a dirty team ever again. Just because the Lightning did it doesn't mean that you didn't do it. So this isn't
two wrongs don't make it right. No, two wrongs don't make it right. It's not over. It's not, because look, I mean, you get into the regular season, points matter, especially division points, right? Like, the points are important. There's no doubt. That preseason game Thursday and Friday didn't really mean anything, or Thursday and Saturday really meant nothing in the long run. I know, Vazzy got his first start in that game down there, and they were trying to get their regulars in, and the game here Thursday was the first time the Florida regulars had been in, but it was meaningless. It meant nothing. And maybe they start playing hockey, but maybe something happens in the game. Look, all it's going to take is one little spark, right? And if the game is 5-0, that's a spark. If there's a hit that takes place in the game, that's a spark. It's going to be like the kindling, right, in the fireplace. It's kind of there. It's kind of brewing. It's not a full-fledged fire yet, but all it takes is one little pop, and all of a sudden there's smoke and fire, and that's exactly how that game on the 15th is going to happen. And who knows? I mean, the two after that, I don't know where this ends. It will be interesting to see how the league handles that, what referees specifically they put on that game, because they know what's going to happen. They do this. They're aware, right? So when they're scheduling out their officials, it's going to be a couple of veteran guys and veteran linesmen who have dealt with these kind of things before, because they're going to have to do their best to kind of keep it under control. Because you can even see in that game on Saturday, I thought that the officials jumped the gun too quickly. Right. I understand why Sabrin got why it ended up being a match penalty for intent to injure, which is an automatic suspension pending a hearing. I understand why that happened. But what Roman Schmidt did happens 75 times during a game. Right. Why was that viewed as a match penalty? I think that they actually added fuel to the fire by doing that so quickly. So they didn't even allow the code, quote unquote, to happen in that game because I think that they were just so quick to throw guys out, And look, Roman Schmidt is a tough guy. There's no doubt about it, but he's not known as a goon. He's got 1 year of really pro experience under his belt, and that was last year. He's just a big boy, 6'5", 230 pounds, whatever he is, right? So, but he has a little bit of that element to his game, and because as was pointed out, both Schmidt and Sabourin played in the game in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Now, none of Florida's regulars were, and really none of the Lightning's regulars were either. So that was really an early preseason type of game. But both those guys played in that game, and there was no stuff stirred up, right? So it's going to be an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on moving forward, and especially to see where both teams are a month into the season, because we know the injuries that Florida has to deal with, and the Lightning has some question marks whether Vasilevsky is completely healthy and ready to go. We'll see where he's at in a month. So there's a lot of questions that are going to come up between now and then. But yeah, a lot of people are viewing November 15th as a must-watch television.
So you go and get a guy, Curtis Douglas, who's 6'9". Why bring him in? Why bring him in? How does he fit into the equation?
Obviously that stands out. 6'9", 240 pounds. He's known for having that physical part of his game. Got into a couple of fights in preseason. But in today's hockey, like, you can't just be that guy. Right. You have to be able to play.
Can you though? Like, that's the thing. And I was just talking about this with Aaron. I said, is this kind of again, we're far beyond the years of the George Laraque and Donald Brashear, but I feel like this rivalry, does it not fully bring the goon back, but does it is it like a partial? Is it a dip of the toe in the water of, all right, maybe we're going to use some of these guys sometimes, right? Like, because now we know with how the way that they send rosters up and the way the contracts are, maybe you don't suit that guy up 82 times. But it seemed like Ryan Reeves and that thing was kind of going down. But this rivalry for certain teams, I think, is there a balance now? Is there a little bit, are we getting back into, I don't want to say the goon era, but just maybe a little bit of a peppering in of those guys now?
I don't think so. I think that this is a unique case because of what happened between the two teams in the playoffs last year. Because let's face it, what happened to Ryan Reeves once you get to the playoffs? He's not in the lineup because he can't play. Yeah. He can't skate. He can't keep up. Right. So that element is not going to be there in the playoffs. It's there in the regular season. And, it still brings fans to their feet and everything. So there's still an element to that part of the game that, people appreciate and want to see it in some aspects. But I don't know if this is a return of that kind of a player, because points are too valuable. There's too much parity in the league nowadays that you can't afford to just have a guy, especially in a cap world, sit on your roster and only play him 3-4 times a year against certain opponents. Right. And then if you do play him, let's say, especially in this case, because they are division rivals, if they do meet again in the playoffs, what does it matter what happened on November 15th? Once you get to April 15th, there's no correlation between the two, because if a player like that is not involved in the playoffs, right? Because, to use Paul Maurice's words, his arsonists are some of his better players. Right. Sam Bennett, when he's an effective player, he's a dirty player, but he's an effective player. He can play the game. Matthew Tkachuk can play the game, right? He's a highly skilled player who likes to stir it up and agitate. So they have guys that are like that can play the game at a high level. So you can't afford to have a player like that sitting on the bench all season long if they're not going to help you win games. You can help send messages, and you can intimidate. That's still a big part of today's game, intimidation. But what good does it do to have that player on your roster if he can't play in the playoffs? There's a different kind of message sending, and if the person one of those guys who has to send the message isn't going to be in the lineup, what good is the message?
Season opener tomorrow night against the Ottawa Senators. We saw some of the line combinations today. What stood out to you the most? And what's going to be the one thing you're kind of looking forward to tomorrow night?
Well, first of all, we know J.J. Moser suspended. He will miss tomorrow, and he will miss Saturday's game against New Jersey. So his first game eligibly back will be Monday against the Bruins. Afternoon game, by the way. It's a 1:00 start. It's a holiday up in the Northeast. It's Columbus Day never seems to be a holiday down here in Florida. So that's a 1:00 start on Monday against the Bruins. So he won't be around. So Max Crozer for sure gets into the lineup. They'll be balanced lefty, righty. The fact that Victor Hedman was out there again, he practiced on Monday down in Estero. He's back on the ice again today. Had a chance to talk to him after practice. It sounds like he's ready to go. So he was paired with Radish, McDonough, Chernak, and then you had Crozier and Lilleberg, which we've talked quite a bit about. The lines are interesting, though. Once you get past really the top six with Point between Gensel and Kucherov, and Cirelli between Hagel and Gonsalves, which we've seen all throughout camp. You start to get in the third and fourth lines that, again, they seem pretty adamant in keeping Bjorkstrand and Gord together. So those two will play together, but it's Mitchell Chaffee that's on that line. Like, I wondered what Mitchell Chaffee's spot and role was going to be, if he even had a spot or a role on this team going into the start of training camp, because of some of the added depth. He's certainly earned his way with some of his play in preseason to kind of get that start. He's going to be on the second power play. But you had Connor Geekie on the fourth line with Pontus Holmberg and Jack Finley, and then you had Curtis Douglas rotating with Finley on those line combinations on the fourth line. So putting Geekie down there is interesting. You want to talk about how coaches send messages sometimes. Is this something to Connor, say, hey, you have to get, as great as that goalie was that he scored on Thursday, that nice little spin move that knocked basically Seth Jones onto the ice with that move. What next gear does Connor Geekie have? I think we need to see it. So I think maybe this is a little message to Connor Geekie, but I think it also speaks to the depth, because we can have this conversation. Why is Connor Geekie on the fourth line? Right. So no Zemgus Girgensons. He certainly doesn't sound like he's going to be ready this week. John Cooper didn't really classify it as week to week, but he kind of indicated that's probably a fair situation. So he won't be available for the short term. So I think the lineup for the first two games is going to be pretty fairly obvious. Once Moser's back, though, you wonder what they do, because Moser goes back into the lineup. Who's going to come out? Are you going to dress 7 and 11, or do you take a defenseman out? Like, that's the thing to kind of start to keep an eye on, is how the Lightning are going to handle this lineup when everybody's healthy, because they have a lot of depth, maybe that they didn't have last year. Certainly they didn't have 2 years ago. So they have it now. How is John Cooper going to utilize it to make sure guys stay fresh and ready to play?
What would you do, 12-6 or 11-7?
I think this team right now is suited best 12-6. I think that their forward depth, especially when Girgensons comes back, Nick, like we haven't talked about Nick Paul, right? He'll be back, hopefully by the start of November. So what happens by the time he comes back? I just feel that they're better suited. The question then becomes, what do you do with Darren Radish?
Yeah,
right. He's been running your number 2 power play. I think the way that he stood up in that game Thursday, when he was one of the first guys in when Greer sucker punched Hagel, and I know Carlisle was the first guy to stir it up once Greer finally came out of the box, but it was Darren Radish that got into a fight with him and handled himself pretty good against a pretty tough guy in AJ Greer. So he kind of made a statement for himself a little bit there to try and stay in the lineup, but that becomes the question, right? Because I think we all feel the way that Max Crozier has continued to show he's ready for the NHL.
Right.
We saw as training camp went on, him get more and more comfortable in terms of his reads, in terms of jumping down into the play. I mean, he jumped into a play, got a nice pass from Dominic James in that first game against the Panthers, and had a really great scoring chance early in that game. So you're starting to see more of a well-rounded Max Crozier. I think that he's a guy that eventually is going to be a regular in this lineup. So these are the decision coaches love to have. They don't want the players to make it easy on them. They want it to be difficult decisions, and I think that that's what they have right now, are difficult decisions on who's going to be in the lineup on a consistent basis. But injuries, these things kind of work themselves out sometimes, but if everybody's healthy, there's some pretty decent players that are going to be sitting in the press box.
Double E, what do you have up right now on lightinginsider.com?
Well, the most recent thing I have up is, from the other day with all the suspensions and the roster being set and the fines and everything else. So that's all up there. I had a chance to catch up with Curtis Douglas today. Great personality on him. I talked about basically he was driving from training camp in Utah to get to Tucson, which is where he was going to end up if he passed the waivers. He was about an hour and a half outside of Vegas when he got the call at a Starbucks, kind of get a coffee. So basically the guy, it's a great story. he doesn't even know where his car is. His car is somewhere in Vegas. He jumped on a flight. He got a call, I think, at 2:30, and he still had like a couple hour drive. He had a 5 o'clock or a 7 o'clock flight to get out of Vegas to get here. Right. So he basically grabbed his suitcase, what he had, a couple of things, his hockey bag, and was at the airport. He's got somebody that has to go get his car for him. He shows up here at 3 o'clock in the morning because it's not quite a red eye, but it was close to a red eye. Had to go to the mall to kind of get some extra clothes and some toiletries and everything else. And, here he is, a day later on the ice with the Lightning. So that'll be up hopefully a little bit later on the website. So, hey, another exciting season getting ready to come up, and I'll be there for all of it.
No doubt about it. He's been there longer than everybody. Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Erik_Erlendsson on Twitter/X. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. Sign up for lightninginsider.com today, right before the season starts. Use that promo code JNZ. Get $10 off, not just this season, but every recurring one after that. Double E, going to be joining us every Wednesday at 1 p.m. John Cooper, timing, whatever. It's up to Coop, really, if it's 1 o'clock or not. Double E, appreciate it, man. I'll see you at the arena tomorrow, brother. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Be well.
Thanks, buddy. The one and only Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Yeah, sign up, man. Support local. We talk about that a lot. Support our guys here locally in the Tampa Bay area. All right, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me. A big thank you to Aaron Jacobson. Big thank you to Erik Erlendsson for joining us here on the program today. And, of course, a big thank you to our partners here, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956, and EverHealth. Man, they do such a great job, everhealth.org. Tomorrow, baby, Benchmark International Arena for the opener between the Lightning and the Senators. Cannot wait to be there for that. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, like and subscribe on YouTube as well, guys. I appreciate the love and the support. I can't do this without you. Look at Chan with the $5 super chat. Every super chat helps. Every sponsorship helps. We're going to keep this train rolling. 166 episodes, I think, now here on the Recher podcast, and we ain't slowing down, baby. All right, back tomorrow at noon from the arena. All is right for the World Lightning hockey. Cannot wait. Hopefully they can start the year with a dub. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Recher podcast.